This is the Alabama Orthopedic Clinic D1 Training High School Football Preview Show.
Here we go, Dan Brennan, week 9 of the high school football season. Tonight, we're excited. Two teams we haven't seen before yet this season, Vigor and Citronelle. And Citronelle we have not seen on TV in quite a long time.
Many, many years.
And we're excited. Vigor coming in unbeaten, top team in 5A. Citronelle comes in with a record of 5-2. Vigor 7-0. Last week, we had the matchup at St. Paul's going up against Saraland. Saraland unbeaten on the year. We'd seen St. Paul's a couple times already this year. They were coming off a shutout against Spanish Fort, and there were, I wouldn't say there were whispers, but I think there were some people looking at Saraland and just saying, okay, obviously they're a good team. They're unbeaten. But now as they get to the meat of the schedule, we're going to really find out what this team is made of. And we early on realized we had not seen a more impressive team on our schedule on TV than the Saraland Spartans.
Yeah, I thought it was the best performance that we have seen this year by any individual team.
Yep.
McGill had a big win against Spanish Fort early, but that game had a lot of turnovers and misfortunes. This was just a team that we saw in Saraland that was prepared and very focused. And if that's the way they've been playing all year, that's something. And if that's the way they're going to play to finish the year, look out for Saraland.
And I think you sometimes see this in teams that, and you don't know if it's going to be a quote-unquote special year, but you just kind of see teams that have that swagger, that confidence, and they just look like that from the opening kickoff.
Yeah, and they were one of those teams that really has got a defined personality. And they run the ball. They really shut you down on defense. Of course, St. Paul's, they've had trouble scoring all year long. But both sides of the ball, the lines of scrimmage, they dominated, and they know what to do when they're dominating the line of scrimmage. They run the football.
Yep.
Little play action, but for the most part, they say, here we come. Here come our two guards pulling. You need to stop us. Good luck. Good team.
Yeah, they're impressive. And again, there could be that big matchup week 11 between Spanish Fort and Saraland. If they both keep winning, they will both be undefeated for the region championship. But we don't want to get too far ahead. Tonight, Dr. Kevin Donahoe is with us here. We're going to talk about, he's a spine specialist, but one of the things that you hear about, and it's almost, it's one of those injuries that it's like just a stinger, you know. Is that a injury that's probably better well known now that you understand than it was, but maybe back 30, 40 years ago when coaches were just like, yeah, just get back in there. It's just a stinger, right?
Put some dirt on it, get back in the game.
Right.
Yeah, so what it is, it's a stretch injury to the brachial plexus. And the brachial plexus is a bundle of nerves that live underneath your collarbone and at the base of your neck. And so what happens is you take a hit in a collision sport, and you have some compression of that. The shoulder goes down, the head goes the other way, and you get a burning sensation down the arm. That's why it's called a burner or a stinger.
Right.
And it usually lasts seconds or minutes. That's the more common scenario that would happen.
The ones that last a minute, they feel like they're lasting hours, though. Right?
Correct, that's right. Yeah.
It goes on. We've talked with other doctors here, whatever injury we're talking about, and preventative maintenance training. I mean, this seems like a little different type to.
Yeah.
How do you prevent that, or how do you train to not get those?
Well, it's important to keep the neck muscle strong because you have two components: the depression of the shoulder. So it's important to have good strength and range of motion of your shoulders, and then support of the muscles around your neck. But you're right; it's a different kind of thing. So when you're playing collision sports, you know, it can happen in car wrecks, can happen with wrestlers.
Walking into the door jam, I've done that.
Vic Lockett put you on your head. I mean, it'd be a similar kind
that
of
would be the least, a stinger would be the least injury concern if Vic Lockett did that to either one of us. And how he's not done it to either one of us over all these years, we don't know. So, but usually it is one of those things. It's not a long-term injury.
No, it's going to go away. You start worrying about it if you have any weakness involved. So if you have weakness of the arm that lasts for days, you need to see the doctor. You need to differentiate it from other conditions, people that have weakness that persists, people that have bilateral symptoms, so pain, numbness, tingling, weakness in both arms. You can have a condition called spinal stenosis, and you verify that and look for that with an MRI. But, you know, for the most part, it's going to be something that's very transient. It goes away. Once the player, particularly in football, is symptom-free, certainly doesn't have any weakness, they can go back and play again. If you differentiate it from a more serious spine injury, that's going to usually involve a lot of neck pain, numbness in the arms, potentially weakness, that needs to be respected and treated as a spinal cord injury.
And probably the most scary and is probably the first one that you get, because you've never experienced it before, and so you're like, what is that? I mean, that's right. That's probably going to be the worst one, right?
Yeah. So, you know, Reuben Foster at Alabama.
I've heard of him, yes.
He had a lot of these. And then he came back and played and had a big cowboy collar on. So that's one thing that you can do to try to prevent them if you're prone to them.
You must have been getting him in high school, because he had that on when we saw him playing at Auburn High School.
Against McGill.
Exactly.
Yeah,
Had that big
right.
Wilbur Marshall, like...
back in the day.
Yes, back in the day. All right, so keep your shoulders strong, right? And
neck strong.
And don't get thrown down by Vic Lockett.
Exactly.
That's what we don't want to do.
That's the main thing.
Good to see you.
Thanks for having me.
All right, stay here.
Appreciate it.
All right, Kevin Donahoe, doctor with us, talking about spine injuries and shoulder injuries here from AOC. We'll take a timeout. When we come back, we're going to find out more about our 5A matchup tonight, Vigor and Citronelle, right here on UTV 44. Week 9 of the high school football season here on UTV 44, and first time winner in 5A. We haven't had a 5A game yet this year either, and we got the #1 team in 5A, the Vigor Wolves, playing host to Citronelle Wildcats, come in 5-2, and Citronelle got a win. These two teams have had like very close games the past couple of seasons. Jason Barnett, head coach, with us here. Dawson Dykes, offensive lineman, here with us as well. And Coach, we haven't had Citronelle on in a long time. We're excited to see the Wildcats on TV.
We're glad to be here. Thank y'all for having us.
And just a easy run-of-the-mill opponent that you get on TV?
Yeah, nobody special, just the #1 team in the state. We're looking forward to it, absolutely.
You know, this team, Steve Mask, the coach of St. Paul's, we were just talking before the game the other night about teams around the area we hadn't seen, and he was saying, is Vigor defense, Vigor really good? And he said, that defense is something special. Is that kind of what you're seeing?
Yeah, absolutely. And it all starts with number 90. Their nose is an incredible football player, and we've played him the last 3 years. And the front, they're a front four, front five, you want to call it. They're as good as anybody in the state of Alabama. I will give you that. So.
You know, talk about just quickly before we get more on this matchup. You had been up there as defensive coordinator.
Yes, that's correct.
And then Coach Funk resigned right before the season,
That's
and all of a sudden you were kind of thrust into being the head coach.
Yes, absolutely. And, you know, it was one of those situations we got the job, and we just had to go run with it, you know. And the kids, they're the ones. They responded very well to it all. And, you know, but despite the changes, and, you know, we basically changed offensive philosophies, you know, right there in that day.
In August.
In August, absolutely. And so when we did that, and, you know, of course, defensively, we're pretty well the same stuff we've been doing all the last couple of years. But it's been a challenge, and, you know, we finally have gotten settled down. And I kept telling people in the beginning that as soon as the football season started, it would be better, because then you got into a routine. But, you know, we're finally in that routine, week 8 or whatever it is now. So it's just one of those things. So.
Tell us about Dawson Dykes, the guest that is to my left that you brought down here.
Dawson is Mr. High School Football, absolutely. He actually transferred in from Satsuma. He was at Satsuma the last couple of years, and he came in at the end of the school year, and believe it or not, he had knee surgery back in the spring. So when we go through all summer long, we didn't really know what Dawson was. I went back and started watching film of him, you know, the Satsuma film that we had, and started, yeah, he's pretty good, you know, he's pretty good. And then once the pads finally came on and so forth, then we realized, oh wow, he's really good. So, you know, he's our leader up front on offense, and you know, Joffrey, it gets a lot of the publicity and things of that nature, but at the end of the day, it starts with him and the other 4 guys up front that make us click. And Dawson is just your typical high school football kid, and I love being around him. He comes and sits in my office all the time, and, you know, probably when he should be in class for all I know, but I don't ask questions, so you know, but we just had to sit down and hang around each other. So
well, players skipping class. The more things change, the more they stay the same.
Right. Don't tell anybody.
The Wildcat. I mean, y'all love to run the football. That's what you like to do. And so you started the season. You were going to have to learn a new offense regardless. I mean, because you had just transferred in, right? So what's it been like? You know, starting the year, getting your feet underneath you, and now getting back healthy for this team.
It's definitely been a good experience. They all took me in real good, and just like I've been there my whole life.
when you see film on Vigor and you start to size
Since you're in the
up-
coach's office all day, not at class, so we're
Yeah,
watching
I'm
film.
sure you've been watching film. What do you see on film, and what do you see as far as how well you've got to play, not just you, but as a unit up front?
They definitely have a really good defensive line, so we've got to do our job all night up front and be able to stop all 5 of them.
They are a powerful team, number one in the state, and a big challenge for you. But I wanted to say too, like we talked with Jeff Kelly on the show last week, and we just said sometimes we find coaches that are they just really like where they are, like they really like where they are. And I know like Citronelle's that spot for you, isn't it?
It is. It really is. I'm a country kid from Atmore, and so Atmore and Citronelle remind me of each other a lot. We now at Atmore, I say we Atmore has the casino and all that stuff going on nowadays. But when I grew up, Atmore was small. There was not a whole lot to do but hang around in town and just with your buddies. Same thing with Citronelle now, and so I find myself drawn to it, and the kids and I, we get along, and it's from a demographic, from a socioeconomic standpoint, everything about it is just it's me, and so I'm tickled to be there. I really am.
As you talked about, like exactly what these kids are going through growing up in a setting like that, because it's not foreign to you. It's what you grew up with.
Absolutely. And we talk about it. The McDonald's is right across the street from the school. Atmore's the same way. If you go a block, there's a McDonald's, and so that's all we had to do. We either left the school and walked to town, walked to the McDonald's, or went to the pool right there. We're missing the pool, Citronelle, but we're gonna get there. And but those things, that's the way it was. And so we go ride back roads and things like that, and go out in the country and go fish and go hunt and stuff like that. That's what these kids do, and like I said, we laugh about it all the time. As a matter of fact, this morning we were laughing about going bow hunting this weekend and things like that, and that's what they love to do, and it's what I love to do. So
I would have to think the connection was pretty instant when you first met Coach.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, you can see that. Well, great to meet you. We're going to see you back here in the last segment. We're going to bring on Derek Scott, head coach. He was telling Derek Scott stories about he and his brother when they were freshmen in high school, and they look a lot like they do right now.
Yeah.
All right, we'll take another timeout. We'll come back and we'll hear the Vigor side of tonight's matchup. Vigor and Citronelle right here on UTV 44 from Pritchard Stadium. Kickoff about 15 minutes away. High school football week 9 here on UTV 44. Our first time seeing one of the few remaining unbeaten teams in our viewing area as well. The Vigor Wolves coming in unbeaten, ranked 7-0, ranked number 1 in 5A. Kyle Walker, the quarterback, here with us. Derek Scott, head coach of the Vigor Wolves, with us. And Coach, you knew coming into the year, returning some players, I would have to think coming into the year, you felt like had a pretty good nucleus coming back to get ready for this season?
Definitely. Defensively, we knew we had 8 guys coming back on defense, and offensively, we only lost 4 guys off there, so we had 7 coming back on offense. So we knew we had a chance to be pretty good this year, and we were looking forward to the opportunity that would provide us.
Well, your defense has been, it's one of those things that Jim and I laugh about this. There are no secrets when it comes to high school football along the Alabama coastline. Coaches talk, they know each other, even if they're not in the same region. And the word
same classification, anything, yeah.
It's like, have you seen Vigor's defense? We said, not yet. So anyway, talk about your defense. We'll get around to the offense, but evidently your defense has been playing lights out.
They played well. They played well in the first 7 games. Those guys up front, Fred Austin inside, Jamarcus Lewis, DeAnthony Walker, and Desmond Little. As well as number 9, Eric Thomas, as well as number 6, Adolph Craig. Those are our front 6, and they're hard to handle.
That win at Jackson had to be a huge win for the season. Such a tough place to go on the road, get the win. 2 top-ranked teams at that time. Talk about it. I know a lot of times coaches you'll look back at the season and say that was the game that really helped propel us? I mean, was it as big a win as we all seemed about it when we were watching the scores during our broadcast?
Oh, most definitely. Most definitely. If you've ever been to Jackson, Alabama, you understand why. You know, if you ever been to their environment, you understand why. And we had to go up there actually 2 times in a row. We went last year and again this year. So it's been kind of a deal. But my goodness, how many times we had to go up there? But it was obviously a good win for us as a team and as a unit, because we went out there. It was a nip and tuck game, and give credit to Coach Powell and his group. They do a great job up there. It was nip and tuck at halftime. I think it was 6-6.
Yeah, it was a close game.
Right. And in the second half, when we came out, we kind of got our guys together, made a few adjustments, and we were able to get rolling there in the second half, and our guys really took life and really got the thing going. But give credit to Jackson and their environment. It's a tough place to go win.
So all this talk about the defense, we've been talking about that, but then like we said here, 45, 40, 40, 52, 40, 41, like good things are happening on your side of the ball too as well, right?
Yes, sir. We have a lot of playmakers on the perimeter. Our running back, Boucher, Jalen Wisty, he's very good. So, you know, it's just playmakers.
Did you come into the season, did you share that same confidence that Coach had, that this really could be one of those special years? And there's been a lot of them at Vigor, but this could be a really special year for Vigor?
Yes, sir, I did, due to the number of athletes that we had returning and the chemistry we had going.
Kyle, if there's one play that you could call that nobody could say, no, put that play away, that's not, it's not, is there a favorite play that you've got that maybe shows your talents?
I say just a normal 4 vertical type play, deep ball, because we got speed out there, and then I have a pretty nice arm with the deep ball throw.
One of those 4 guys are going to be open.
Yeah, one of them going to be open for sure.
And if you overthrow them, they're probably going to be able to outrun it and go down and get the ball. Which
can't overthrow.
Yeah, the quarterbacks love that. Talk about offensively what Kyle's brought to the team this year and the big points you are putting up.
Well, the first thing is that Kyle brought consistency to the position, and that's what you really need to have for an offense to click. You need consistency. You need someone that's had the reps, someone that understands what you're doing, and someone that can get you in the right play or make a play that breaks down, can improvise and get it done and understand the situation. So first and foremost was his consistency. Second was his intelligence. Kyle is a very intelligent person, not only as a player but as a person. He's a scholar athlete as well as he's in honors classes, advanced placement classes. So he's really intelligent, and so the things we ask him to do, he understands what we're trying to do, and that consistency has allowed us to be more. That have the ability to score more points.
We talk a lot about leadership, and a quarterback has to be a leader. It just comes, it comes with it, and it's not an easy thing, especially when you're, I don't think it's easy for a lot of people at any age, but when you're 16, 17 years old, it's a lot to put on you. But also, sometimes you have players who are good leaders, and they have those traits. But then when you've got that charismatic part of it as well, that you can tell that Kyle has. I mean, you can really see how teammates will be drawn to a player like that.
Totally. And that leadership, that charisma, because we're going to jump him now. He knows that we're going to jump his tail, and we're fiery guys, myself and my brother. And so we're going to get after him, and he just kind of chews us off sometimes. So,
have you noticed that these 2 guys are fiery? We've known them a long time.
We have known them a long time.
You've got to notice. But talk about what it's like to be the quarterback and be the leader of the team, and what that feeling is for a young man.
It's a really great feeling, especially with the team that I have. We all come together as one. It's not so hard for me to be a leader because it's more than one of me. So they make my job easy, and it's a great feeling.
No, well, we can't wait to watch you play. We can't wait to watch the defense play. We're excited for this one. Great to meet you. Be safe out there. Coach, stay here for the last segment. We're about 10 minutes away from kickoff tonight. It is the Vigor Wolves, unbeaten 7-0, taking on 5-2 Citronelle. That's why it's our Friday Night Rivals matchup right here on UTV 44. We'll come back here for more from both the coaches coming up right after this. Veteran injury attorneys, Friday night rivals here on UTV 44. First trip to Pritchard Stadium this year is the Vigor Wolves. Head coach Derek Scott here with us. Vigor ranked number 1 in 5A, 7-0 on the year. Jason Barnett, head coach of Citronelle Wildcats, 5-2 region matchup tonight here on UTV 44. Excited to see, and there's just so many games we don't get to see as many people as we want, but I would just have to think there's some people excited in Citronelle. The game's going to be on TV, and there'll be some DVRs set up in Citronelle, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I made a Facebook post on our quarterback club page, and it had the most likes of anything we've done since I've got there. So apparently they're excited. Apparently, yeah.
Oh, that's cool. And, we were just talking. We talk about all the coaches knowing each other or whatever, and it is amazing sometimes the information we'll get from other coaches.
Oh, yeah.
Leading into a game, not even about it. But I know you reach out to Coach Scott a lot to see a team that he's maybe seen before to let you know what's going on.
I lean on all my coaching friends to straighten it all out for me.
All right, so here our last segment is called Bren In, Bren Out, and Dan Brennan will tell you if he's in or out, and then coaches you'll have to decide as well. Headline in the Scottish Sun. Do you still get that subscription?
I do not.
The headline was what to do when you forget your toothbrush. So Dan Brennan, ever use somebody else's toothbrush?
I do not. I have not. I don't know what. Well, I think I just always remember my toothbrush.
Out.
Out. Yeah, nothing worse than that. Let's see here. From the New York Times, more and more people are taking their dogs to weddings.
Really?
Dogs at weddings, Dan Brennan.
Bren out.
Don't have one, but I'll be in.
I'm in.
Oh, I'm in. At Carrie and I's wedding, our dog had a bow tie on and the cuffs and everything.
It was your wedding.
Yeah, well, I guess that was it. All right, from Fox News, Dan, yet dockhands reveal secrets about working for the ultra-rich. It might be a surprise to learn that sometimes they want company in the hot tub. Hot tubs in general, Dan Brennan. Company or not, just hot tubs in general.
Brennan.
Okay.
Derek in.
Yeah, why not?
Yeah, like the hot tub. All right, they did it with coffee, they did it with muffins, then it was biscotti and Cheerios, but now they've gone too far. Pumpkin spice buffalo hot wings, Dan Brennan.
Bren out.
Out.
Yeah, I'm totally out on anything like that. Let's see. Rutgers lost 34-7 to Maryland this week, and they passed for 8 yards. 8 blankety-blanking yards, their coach said afterwards. Ever seen a worse passing effort, Dan Brennan, than 8 yards?
Bren out. Never.
Yeah.
I think Army was probably worse than that at some point, but I'm going to say out.
8 yards, 8 blankety-blanket yards. That is it. Coach, thanks so much for being here. Kickoff comes up next. It's Vigor and Citronelle coming up next here on UTV 44.